Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and welcome to the 5 on Racing Show. Got a lot to talk about tonight with many of the top series were at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway up in New Hampshire, of course, with the Sprint Cup Series, the Campbell Road Truck Series, as well as the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, and we'll get to talk about that. But before I get into all the distant action, I'd like to talk about the end of an era, so to speak. My friend and good buddy Roger Oxy ran his last race at Long Island's Riverhead Raceway. Roger, a tough competitor, finally is going to hang up the helmet at the local racetrack, although he does have one more race, I believe, scheduled for him with the late model, with the bigger motor at the King of the Green race at Evergreen, Pennsylvania, formerly Mountain Speedway. Roger is, he didn't have the season he was looking to have in 2016. And, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. And, as I spoke last week, he wanted to win the Mike Smokey Boken Memorial late model race. He wanted to win the Cone race this past weekend at Riverhead. But, it just wasn't meant to be. And it's tough. It's tough to make a decision where it's time to move on, whether it's at a job, whether it's a career, racing, relationships. It's just to make that decision. And Rogers made that decision. A lot of people say that it's not going to happen. He's going to come back. I don't believe it. I believe that his racing career has run its course. So I consider Roger a friend. Roger, a guest on the 505 on Racing Show many, many times. And, for those who don't know, he travels better than 2.5 hours one way to come here for an hour and talk racing, and travels the 2.5 hours back each and every time he's come here. I've even to pre-record, go to a shop at Peconic on a Friday night even, or meet him at one of his sponsors' local hangouts. Sophie's Rest out there on the east end of Long Island, and pre-record something, and no, he doesn't want to do that. So again, I want to wish him well in whatever endeavors he's going to do in 2017, and I want to thank him for all the memories he gave, not only the fans, but other competitors as well. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. Him and I didn't always see eye to eye when I was wearing the bad guy hat up here on Long Island. But, and I put this in social media, and I'm going to say it here today. I left Riverhead Raceway in 2002 after the 2002 season. And he was one of those guys that we spoke every weekend, every either Sunday or Monday. And we spoke about the races and what went on, what could have been, what should have been. And it was always a good banter back and forth. One of the few guys that still communicated with me when I left in 2002 was Roger Oxy. We still had our weekly phone calls, and when I started tour racing, it kind of fizzled out a little bit, but we still spoke. And when I went to my local racetrack, the only place left for me to hang out was Roger Oxy's trailer. So I'm going to miss that on my infrequent trips to the famed quarter mile. The food there was always good. The beverages were always good. We told some good stories. We had some good laughs. And Roger, good luck to you. And again, thanks for all those memories, the good ones, the bad ones, and even the bad ones we laugh about today. So. It's just going to be it's going to be sad to see a guy like Roger Oxy leave his local racetrack, but but hooray for Roger Oxy. He's going to go on and do other things. And like I said earlier, those are the things you have to do sometimes. And also, my good buddy Mike Gravel Buxa. Gravel was the National Demolition Derby champion this weekend at the, again, Riverhead Raceway. And I'm talking about this because these are two of my buddies, and one of which, Gravel, him and I go back a long way, and him and I, we laughed together, we cried together, we worked together, we played together. And he won that Demolition Derby this past weekend, and they called it the National Demolition Derby Championship. And he won that race, and he got out of the car, and he was hurting, and not because he got hurt racing, just he's not as young as he used to be. And if you watch that interview we had here a few weeks ago, you know, he's been doing this since the mid-70s. And your body could just take so much beating and banging. So he's hanging up the goggles in a borrowed Demolition Derby car from one of his good friends and good sponsors that has always helped him throughout the year. And in his Victory Lane interview, he said, "I'm done." And you know, it's always fun to go out a winner. Always fun to take home that last one, because you know the late Chris Young used to tell me, he goes, when you win a race on Saturday during the racing season, you have bragging rights all week, because Saturday is a new day. But he had won a feature the last night of his season at Riverhead a couple of years back, a few years back, I should say. And he said, you know what's nice about winning the last night of the season? Because you have bragging rights all year. To win the last race or competition that you're going to enter like Gravel did, to win that one, you went out on top. Good buddy, good friend, and I'll tell you what, we had some. He stopped by my place today, and we were talking about some of the old days, and you know, it was just good. It was just good. It was fun, and him and I always had these debates: is Demolition Derby competition? Is it a race? Is it a competition? Is it an event? We always had these debates, and you know, finally in the interview we had with Gravel, he said, well, the man who won the last NASCAR race at Isis Speedway was Bob Park. The guy who won the last race at Riverhead, at Isis Speedway, I should say, was Tom Craft. And the guy who won the last event ever held was his good buddy in the Demolition Derby. So I guess we agreed to disagree on that one. So it's all good. It's all good. So I wish them both well. And anyway, after Chicagoland last week, we had discussed that Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson both failed the LSI test, the laser test, in post-race with their cars. And their cars were taken to the R&D Center in Concord, North Carolina. And normally when that happens, I believe it's a P2 penalty. It's usually a dockage of team points for driver and owner, usually anywhere between 10 and 15 points. And with the new point system, 10 and 15 points is big. Not like the old days. If they led a lap and they led the most, you've made up your points. But back then they fined you 50 points. So 10 to 15 points is a lot of points. Well, Vice President Steve O'Donnell of NASCAR stated that with Truex's win, it locked him into the next level or the next phase of the chase. So they could have took away 1,000 points. He's still in the next level. However, Jimmy Johnson, whose car was also found illegal after Chicagoland, failing the LSI test, isn't locked in. And taking those points away from him could be a detriment. So what NASCAR has decided to do is to be fair, is not penalize them for that. Now, I'll tell you what, that's the most unfair decision I've ever seen. And the reason that I say that is because you can't pick and choose when you're going to penalize. If a car is deemed illegal or fails post-race tech or post-qualifying tech, the penalty should be the penalty. There should not be a discussion. Well, you see, this penalty is not going to hurt this guy, but it's going to hurt this guy more. No, that shouldn't be. It should be, the rule book says, if you do this, it's a P1 or a P2, and if you do this, it's 5 points, 10 points, 15 points, 20 points, whatever it is. They should not make a decision not to penalize based on because more Truex is in. This goes into play where I've said since 1997, that racetracks and NASCAR manipulate some of the outcomes. And this happened a few years ago, not a penalty-wise. The year Jeff Gordon did not make the chase, Rick Hendrick petitioned NASCAR verbally and spoke to them and then said to NASCAR, if Jeff Gordon is not in the chase, DuPont's pulling out, and I'm not sure where Hendrick Motorsports is going to be. And all of a sudden, they made a provision for Jeff Gordon. Then the following season, they added more cars to the chase. I don't think that's right. Not that what I think matters, but it matters to me. That's not the way to run a business. That's not the way to run a sport. It happens to be a business. If you're illegal or you fail tech, and the rule book says X, Y, Z, they shouldn't look at where people are in the points. That should not have a bearing. This is the penalty. Shame on Jimmy Johnson. Now what he has to do is he has to win one of the next races if the points would have been taken away to lock himself in. He had the same advantage or disadvantage as Martin Truex Jr. He needed to win a race. No matter how many points they took away, he wins the race, he's in the next phase. NASCAR needs to take a look at that. NASCAR has to start being a little more consistent. Well, let me rephrase that. Not start to be, they need to be. Because this is one of the issues that I don't know, I'm going to say made me hang up my official shirt, was the inconsistency. The inconsistency of calls, the inconsistency of penalties, and the inconsistency of who gets what fine and what penalty. Like I said earlier, if it's a P1 penalty and you broke it and the fine is, I don't know, 10 points or 5 points or whatever the point, they shouldn't say, wait, like, check the standings. Oh, no, we can't do that. No, that shouldn't be. And, you know, and every car goes through the LSI, and I'll tell you what, it's, you know, there's a lot of things that could cause your LSI readings to fail, and that's the laser measurements. You know, a bump from another competitor, you come off the corner, hit the wall a little bit, it's going to knock stuff out. There's a lot of things. They've taken the human element out. It'll be like baseball having lasers at home plate to call balls and strikes. You don't do that. It takes the whole human element out. Why don't we just have remote control cars race with robotic officials and lasers making all the decisions? It's one of the things that bothers me. And I know, you know, that's a little negativity here, but it's really not. I want you people that listen to and watch this show, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it in archives, to know what's really going on behind the scenes and why some of these decisions are made. Now, this decision, this Steve O'Donnell thing, I didn't walk down a hallway in the NASCAR office and overhear this. This was publicized in Speed 51, NASCAR.com, ESPN.com. This was a published article. And it went on. It was a whole big thing of trying to justify what they did and why they do it. So I don't agree with that. I'm just going to say that. I don't agree with that. It's tough enough in this sport to get a grasp from the fans, to get an understanding from our fans. Don't preach all season long and all the pre-off season long how these P1 and P2 penalties are going to work. If all of a sudden you get to the chase and one of the Fairhead boys gets nabbed, and all of a sudden you're going to have a reason why you're not enforcing that route. That shouldn't be, and it shouldn't be at any level, the weekly level, a touring level, or in the top three with the Xfinity Camper World Truck Series and, of course, the Sprint Cup. It's just one of those things. But anyway, it happens, and it shouldn't. And the other thing I wanted to talk about before we go into our first break is I want to give a tip of the hat to Eddie and Connie Partridge and Tom Gatz. although they're not partners of the 505 on Racing Show, I want to congratulate them on the first season. The first season is a tough one, not only for a racetrack, a new sport team, a new arena, but your first season is a tough, a lot of growing pains, a lot of learning curve. It's a learning curve on what we do. Because, and I used to say this all the time, everybody thinks when you own or promote a racetrack, you show up that morning, you put the key in the lock, you open the gate, and go, come on in. You go up to the grandstands, you open that fence, put something in your ticket book, and sell tickets. It's not that easy. There's a lot that goes on. Like Tom Gotts, one of the partners at Riverhead Racing, said he thought it was just going to be a thing. He could show up on Saturday and do his thing and whatnot. And he realized his part-time job at the racetrack became a full-time job. But anyway, I congratulate them on a successful season. It's only going to get better there. And, maybe the car counts will grow, the economy will get a little bit better. But you know what? Season 2 is in the planning stages as we speak. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to show an interview that we did at the Himes Museum when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared on Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway? With speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st, and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com. Village Music Shop of Mastic, 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hey, welcome back. We have an interview from the Marty Himes Museum at his annual drivers reunion party, which also doubles as his birthday party. Rick Marshall. We have Rick now. Here we go. Okay, walking around the Himes Museum, we find Rick Marcel, who also, I understand, has a museum of his own sort up in the New England area.
Yes, we're from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It's known as the Pro9 Motorsports Museum. We started this in 2003 after an abundance of collections between myself and R.A. Sylvia. We figured, well, listen, we got to get a building and put this stuff in it, and if we can show people how important this is, maybe the right funding would come our way and we'll be able to have a facility of our own. Well, I bought this old warehouse, 1900 built warehouse in Pawtucket, and we set it up as a museum. And since 2003, we've entertained hundreds and hundreds of people every year. We have 15 different cars on display right now, and 7,400 square feet of motorsports memorabilia. Not just stock car racing, we got motorcycles, we've got drag racing history, it's all there, even sports car stuff.
Looking forward, as you get more pictures, more equipment, more parts, do you see yourself expanding that facility?
We hope to expand every year. We entertain a lot of people with influence and power, and we have to find that right person that says, you know, we need to have this, and we got to do this big and big.
New England is rich in motorsports history with multiple tracks. You got Seacon, Thompson, Stafford, Waterford, Monadnock, New Hampshire, Beach Ridge. There's just so many that I can't even name them all. So all of that old-time equipment is somewhere.
Exactly. And like I said, every time we make an appearance, something new will come our way. And that's where, like I said, the space is becoming scarce, and we need a bigger area and a much better place to display it all.
Who's some of the people help you put this stuff together?
Oh, everyone from Bruce Cohen, who was tied in with Lou Boyd and Dick Berggren back in the days of the old Spring Sizzler. They started with us, they're big supporters, and I wouldn't want to start naming all the names of the prominent people in motorsports in New England. I would, if I forgot someone, I would feel bad, but the fans, everyone, and everything just keeps on going and going. We're doing very well.
Well, Rick, I got to thank you on behalf of not only racers, but historical people in racing for preserving racing's past, because it's only a memory. If everybody keeps throwing it away, it's just a memory.
You're exactly right. What Marty has here is precious. It needs to be saved, and people need to come and enjoy his lifelong work and preserving the history of motorsports here in New York and Long Island. So this is a great thing, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
You know, Rick came all the way from Pawtucket, Rhode Island to come to the Heims reunion. And I'm sure partially to see some of the old-time drivers. So, you gotta understand, a lot of Long Islanders traveled off the island to go racing years ago, as they are doing today. And I'm sure the other part, let's see what Marty has here, and I'll tell you what, I've been to the Heims Museum, I'm gonna say now, probably 15 or 20 times, and I go in, I'm like, I didn't see that last year. I didn't say that last time. There's so many things. There's just so many things. And the funny part, and I know I talk about this and people laugh at me, I not only do I have my own little corner now of stuff, I have a whole nother little corner in another part of the museum of more stuff. And I can remember the first time I brought something to Marty, it's gotta be in the late 90s. One of the Legends drivers finished second in the points here on Long Island. He finished second in the points and didn't show up to the banquet. So I said, I know who this guy is. Let me grab his trophy. And it was John McNamara. And I took his trophy with me, and I tracked him down, and I went to give him his trophy. He goes, why do I want a second place trophy? So I'm just going to throw it away. And he kind of walked away from it. And I was kind of like, some attitude that is. I was really taken back by that. And then I was driving home, and I said, you know what? I know who'll want this. Marty Heims. That's the first thing I brought there. So I go to call up Marty. I said, Marty, I got this trophy from John McNamara, second in the points of the Legends. He don't want it. He wants me to throw it in the garbage. And he goes, well, you know what they say, Joe? One man's garbage is another man's gold. Give me it. And that was the first thing I brought there. And then the Featherlight Tour, the era ended with Featherlight as the sponsor, as the title sponsor. And they had their time trial board. It was kind of makeshift, and it was done with small pinstripe tape and whatnot. But it had the Featherlight logo, and it was used for just about every Featherlight Modified Tour race. The time trial board, that one of the scoring officials would sit there with a headset on and go down the list of numbers and get a call from the tower, first lap 19.3872, and then she'd write it down. And second lap 19.574, and she'd write it down. Well, Featherlight, they made a big thing about Featherlight. It was their last race. It was at Thompson at the World Series. And when they were all done at the end of the day, I said, where's the time trial board? Because we're putting the load up the hall. And I said, oh, we threw it in the dumpster. And I went, you know what? I know who's going to want this. And it was done in dry erase. It was done in dry erase. And so, because they always just erased it. And I went out to the dumpster, and there it was. Right on top, the dry erase, most of the numbers were still there. So I went to our scorer, I got the time trial listing, and I took it home. And I took a picture of it. And then what I did with permanent marker, after I erased it, I rewrote the times in permanent marker and the car numbers. And we had all the officials sign it. And not official, all the scorers, because back then we manually scored. Everybody had a scorecard and sat down and wrote, the clock would start ticking it right now. So everybody that was at that last event signed this board, and that last race at the Thompson World Series was on there, and I just kind of overdid everything with a permanent marker, and I brought it to Marty Himes. And when I gave it to him, and I said, Marty, I saved this out of the dumpster. His eyes welled up with tears. I'll never forget this. And he goes, you know what they say? And he said the same thing, one man's garbage is another man's gold. And he has that in the museum now. And it might not mean a lot to a lot of people. But for those of us who were part of the NASCAR Featherlight Tour, it meant a lot to us. And who decided to throw in the trash? Nobody fessed up about it, but somebody had to give the okay. Because NASCAR, you have to be a perfectly wooden soldier. Don't do nothing without being told. But nobody wanted to fess up when I took it out of the garbage and said, I'm bringing it to a museum on Long Island. And then over the years, every time I went to Marty's, there's an old saying, when you go to somebody's place, you should be kicking the door because your armor should be full of what you have. And I always had something, whether it was a book, a racing uniform, a jacket, a shirt, a hat, whatever it might have been, and we brought it. So we did that there. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to say it again. If you haven't been to the Himes Museum, you have to go. Because don't make it one of those things. Don't make it like, unfortunately, world. I'm going to go. Oh, next week. And then when it was gone, you said, I should have went. And I'm not saying Marty's going to shut his museum down or move it to somewhere else. But, someday, Marty's going to be running that museum up in the blue sky in the clouds. And who knows what's going to happen with all that stuff. You hope somebody takes it over. Maybe his kids, his grandkids, maybe somebody that's into racing with a lot of money. Somebody, please. But there, so at least you could say, I win. Because I'll tell you what, and you want to test Marty, make up a driver that you knew when you were a kid, that you remember watching race, or a family member, and say, Marty, you have something for, whoever? And he'll go like this, and he'll put it, this is what he does, he'll go somewhere, he'll tell you, don't move. And he'll come back with something from that competitor, that owner, that official, that whoever, and he'll tell you what it is, when he got it, who gave it to him, and how it got there. When we come back, we're going to talk about the results from Bethel Motor Speedway in upstate New York when we come back.
Hi, my name is Aaron from Real Big Fish.
And I'm Ed from Real Big Fish.
And you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Well. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the. But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway? With speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st, and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com.
Hey, welcome back. You know, it's kind of funny. I look at the chat room stuff that goes on during the commercial breaks. In my old format, I was able to respond. And maybe it's a good thing I don't respond to them, but a couple of folks got on late, so I want to welcome them as well. And of course, Bethel Fan is always on before I am. And then 22 figure 8, unless the Rangers are in like a playoff game or something, he's always here. And then Tracy Bethel was here. So 22 figure 8, remember the old rant? The Joe rant. People used to look forward to that. I stopped doing that. But I guess I kind of got into a rant today because this thing with not penalizing people when they break the rules, you can't pick and choose when you do. But anyway, check that out in the archives because it's going to be its own thing. But anyway, we have the results from Bethel Motor Speedway. I want to thank Tracy Chirico for providing us with the results from Bethel. Bethel Motor Speedway, a marketing partner with the 505 on Racing Show and the Inravio TV network. So here we go with the results from Bethel. In the modified results, when it comes to the Bethel Modified division at Bethel Motor Speedway, it's safe to say that any driver in the class can win on any given night. The unique class pits stock clip IMCA style cars against fabricated clip cars and has created some close competition. This past Saturday night, Blair Colhane, a fabricated clip car driver who has run on a limited schedule over the second half of the season, walked away with his 5th win of the year. In 15 races so far in this division, there have been 6 different winners. The Bethel Modifieds went like this. Blair Colhane was the winner, followed by Joan Cote. Skip LaPolte was 3rd. Steve Galgano was 4th. Rob Rafferty 5th. Frank James 6th. Robbie Konakowski 7th. And Joe DeGracia finished 8th. For Kyle Redner, the long wait for his first career 358 sportsman win came to an end 2 weeks ago and started a wave of momentum that carried him to his 2nd win just 1 week later. Redner led every lap of the caution-free race to claim the win in a packed field that included 3 former division champions. Redner put his car out front at the drop of the green, and the battle of the race lap after lap was the battle for 2nd between Mike Dutka and Paul Martin that continued over the entire race distance. As Redner headed to the checkered flag, Martin was able to muscle his way past Dutka to claim 2nd. Dutka had to be content with 3rd as Redner heads into the final event with a 41-point lead over Dutka for the point tile. The 358 Sportsman feature went like this. Kyle Redner was the winner there, as we just said. Paul Martin 2nd. Mike Dutka 3rd. Dan Conklin was 4th. Jeff Richardson 5th. Eric Moon 6th. Rich Eggers 7th. Matt Curry 8th. Larry O'Donnell 9th. And Don Smith the 3rd, rounding out the top 10. Mike Alcaro is the winningest driver at Bethel Motor Speedway history, and he added yet another win to his tally this past Saturday night. Alcaro started on the pole with Joseph Graff, who was outside. Graff got the lead by a bumper at the start of the race, but led only a single lap before Alcaro took over. Graff got a second chance at Alcaro following a caution on lap 15, but Alcaro shot out front once again. Graff was shuffled back to second, leaving Richie Coy with the opportunity to charge past and take the second spot on the final lap. Graff was third. Coy had clinched the poor Masters champion the prior week. Gillian Kirkpatrick crossed the line fifth this past Saturday and secured the Young Lions semi-pro title. And what we have there to finish there in the Legends results was Mike Alcaro first, Richie Coy second, Joseph Graff third, Joe Graff fourth, Gillian Kirkpatrick fifth, Matt Maring sixth, Stephen Hergy seventh, Mikey Policastro eighth, Josh Marchese ninth, and Drew Bowdridge rounding out the top 10. In the Pro Stocks, defending Pro Stock Division champion Kenny Atkins has had an uphill battle after missing opening night, but this past Saturday he picked up his 10th win of the season. That is incredible. And he tied up his second straight title. Jim Helt took over the lead on the poles over pole sitter Matt Crossan when the green dropped, but Atkins found his way to Helt's rear bumper by the time they were 5 laps into the books. At the halfway point of the event, an incident involved both leaders brought out the caution and forced both Atkins and Helt to restart in the rear. Crossan inherited the lead and had his hands full of past champion Bobby Policastro until Atkins marched back through the field to reclaim second with 6 laps remaining. Just 3 laps later, Atkins wrested the lead from Crossan, and Policastro followed to take second. 1 lap later, Atkins was the first to line, followed by Policastro and Crossan. The race went like this, the Pro Stocks, as we said, Kenny Atkins, Bobby Policastro, Matt Crossan third, Glenn Richard fourth, Jim Height was fifth, Brent Shattuck was sixth, and Rick Bradley was seventh. Kyle Welsh found himself in victory lane for the 5th time this season at the conclusion of the street stock feature. Brian Chirico started on the pole with Walt Henry to his outside, but Henry got the jump in the start. Gary Van Orden wrestled second from Chirico on lap 4, but Welsh took over the spot 2 laps later. Welsh then set his sights on Henry and grabbed the top spot from him just 1 lap later. Multi-time division champion Amber Van Orden grabbed second just before the halfway point and applied pressure to Welsh over the remaining laps. Welsh, who will head into the next event second in the points, 38 markers behind Gary Van Orden and only 1 point ahead of Amber Van Orden, was first to the line, followed by Amber Van Orden and Henry. The results for the rest of the guys there, we had Kyle Welsh again, Amber Van Orden, Walt Henry, Gary Van Orden fourth, Brian Chirico, a top 5, good job, Brian. Sean Maloney 6th, Mario Contarino 7th, Patty Falcana 8th, Arthur MacArthur 9th, Joe Smith rounding out the top 10. For the first time this season, someone other than the point contenders Brian Bauerfeind and Mikey Travis wound up in victory lane following a 4-cylinder advance race. Cody Hufflin picked up his first win of the season, holding off Tasha Curry and Bauerfeind for the win. Jerry Kingeter and Huffling made it up to the front row for the start and swapped the lead in the opening laps, but Huddling took it over for good with 7 laps in the books. Kingeter held second until Tasha Curry marched past to claim the position just prior to the halfway point of the event. Bauerfeind, who had to restart at the rear of the field at 3 separate times during the course of the event, broke back into the top 3 with just 2 laps to go, but was unable to catch Hartling and Curry and had to be content with a third. Bauerfeind takes a 21-point lead over Travis in the final event here. And we had, like I said, Coney Hartling, Tasha Curry, Brian Bauerfeind, Les Quick Jr. was 4th, Jerry Kingeter was 5th, Billy Porter 6th, Tim Curry 7th, Mike Weiner was 8th, Ed Jones 9th, and Mikey Travis rounding out the top 10. Kayla Curry led every lap of the 4-cylinder novice race to grab her 6th win of the season. Curry started on the pole and led every lap of the event to claim the victory. Nicole Nelson started on Curry's outside and held on to the 2nd spot for the first half of the race before being overtaken by John Huddling, who already clinched the division title. With 6 laps remaining, James Shields grabbed 3rd, but Curry proved to be unstoppable as she drove on to win over Hockering and Shields. And the rest of the competitors in that division went like this. Let's see what we got. No graphic on it, so what we got here? That was the four-cylinder novice. So the four-cylinder novice, like Kayla Curry, John Hochterling, James Shields, Ryan Lamantia, Nicole Nelson, Keith Unger, Felicia Rittenbach, Nick Curry, Cliff Levinson, and Vinny DeGraw. This coming Saturday night, October 1st, Bethel Motor Speedway present the final regular season point race of the season with the Bethel Modifieds, the 358 Sportsman's, Legends, Bandoleros, Pro Stocks, Street Stocks, four-cylinder vans, and novice classes on the schedule. Time permitting, the night will be capped off by a four-cylinder officials race. Gates open at 2:30 with hot laps at 4:30, and racing is set to go green at 6 p.m. Grandstand admission is just $8, and children under 5 and under are admitted free. The rain date for this event is Sunday, October 2nd. But before Bethel's 2016 will wrap up with a car show and swap meet on October 15, the Run What You Brung and Street Stock Shootout Series race will also include a visit from the Vintage TQs on Saturday, October 29th. More details are available at their website at www.bethelmotorspeedway.com. The Run What You Brung. Now, I'll tell you what, I've seen that event years ago. Last time I went to the Run What You Brung event was 1998, and about 14 or 15 competitors from Long Island went there for this event. It was advertised as $2,000 to win. $2,000 to win. That's a lot of money, so anybody's going to travel to go to that race. And at the time, I was the head official at the Long Island's Riverhead Raceway, and I had so many cars there. I said, let me do something good for my guys, because I was always a bad guy, I was the guy everybody hated at the end of the night. So I put $100 into the purse for the first Riverhead car over the line. And they brought me up into the driver's meeting. They brought me up to the press box. Every time I left my seat in the grandstands to go get something to eat or drink, the announcers mentioned me. You would have thought I was paying the whole purse. At one point, I was like, I hope they didn't think I said I was paying the purse. I was just paying $100. Well, the night ends, the race ends, and when I say it was Run What You Brung, there were asphalt modifieds, dirt modifieds, sprint cars, late models, street stocks, figure eight cars, you name it, it was there. And it was awesome. It was an awesome night. I sat in the payoff window, and they said, this is we don't know your guy, so who is it? I looked down and I said, it's this guy. I handed him his $100, everything was good. And I'll tell you what. That's a race you might want to take the trip to go see. The Run What You Brung. The Run What You Brung, it's incredible. And an officials race. Now, what kind of official do you have to be? Like, I'm officially the host of the 505 on Racing Show. So does that count? Does that, I don't know. I guess I should go to the website. But, just planting a seed there, It doesn't say what kind of official. It just says an officials race. I went to law school, and I am officially the co-host. That's official. If you go to our website, it's going to say it. I'm only having some fun with you folks about that. But that should be it. Officials races are always good. They used to happen here on ISA Speedway, and I remember giving my car to a guy, one of the officials. I don't remember who it was, and we had a fun time. And it's always good. The officials, they get to see, the ones who never raced before, get to see what goes on the racetrack. It's not as easy as it looks. When we come back, we'll talk about New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the results there with the Sprint Cup Series, and of course, a local guy taking down the win in the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour when we come back.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway? With speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st, and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Oh, sorry, folks. Brett put me on hold when I called. I'm only kidding. that was good, 22. That was good. Anyway, before we go to New Hampshire and the modified stuff, we have some footage from the Long Island Needs a Drag Strip event that I recently went to with the Inravio crew. Here we go with that. Hi, this is Joe Larson with the 505 on Racing Show. We're at a rally for Long Island Needs a Drag Strip here at Tanner Park in Copiague, Long Island. As you can see, there's over 200 cars here and over 1,000 people just at the rally itself.
Okay, and without further ado, our next Congressman, Lee Zeldin. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I really hope you don't mind me bringing my friend Jason with me. I knew the crowd that I was coming to spend some time with, and I know where your heart is, and it's just great to be with you again. And Long Island needs a drag strip now more than ever before. It's been 12 years now, and all of you have taken how much money off of Long Island for other communities, for other states, money that could have been spent right here in our restaurants. This is employing our people. Instead, we're taking care of other communities in other states. The first car race ever, anywhere, the Vanderbilt Cup, right here on Long Island. We have rich history. It's not just about history, and it's not just about the economy. It's about public safety. All of you care so deeply about public safety. You care about the safety on our streets, and that is why you're advocating for a drag strip here on Long Island. You're advocating for a drag strip here on Long Island for the entertainment, for the culture, for the history, for the economy, for the public safety, for that next generation. I see some young kids who are here as well. They should be able to enjoy all of what you remember, your memories growing up here. And you also care enough about home that you still live here. But we all have our stories as to why our families have been split apart, moving down to South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida. Why is that? Here's the perfect example. We don't have enough common sense in government. This makes too much sense for some people they're not yet on board. The key is identifying the land, and we know of different places where this should be possible. And then whoever are the local elected officials in that area to do everything in their power to help you get this over the finish line, to get this done. And this is an important message because Long Island Needs a Drag Strip was on Facebook, just started not too long ago, right? And last time we got together in Riverhead Raceway, I think maybe we had like 7,000 people following on the page. And then 5,000. And now I think we're up to over 12,000. Here's a message for any elected official on Long Island. This group is only growing. And when you look at that page, it's only going to continue to pass 15,000 and 20,000. And these are people who vote. And these are people who are staying here to love Long Island. They've been here for decades and generations. You aren't going away. So for all those elected officials, when that time comes to sign off on it, let's get it done. Long Island Needs a Drag Strip. I have your back, whatever I can possibly do to help you. That's why I am here to tell you again that I stand with you, whatever I can do to help. Love you all. Thanks for inviting me back.
Great big hand to Congressman Zeldin. Great big hand. And all our officials that are up on stage. Thank you very much.
It was a great day. Great day. I had a good time, and I want to thank John Casale for inviting the Inravio crew down to be a part of that. Anyway, this past weekend in NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour was at Caraway with Georgie Brunholzer III, the winner, Burt Myers second, Jason Myers third. They had Andy Seiss fourth, Danny Bond fifth, Kyle Bonsignor sixth, Jeremy Anderson seventh, Brian Colger eighth, Bobby Mensa Jr. ninth, and Brian Duzat 10th. The points right now, Burt Myers is the point leader, followed by Andy Seiss, 22 back, with Georgie Brunholzer III, 26 back. The NASCAR Whelen Tour, Modified Tour, was at New Hampshire. They have 2 races left. The next one is this weekend at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut, followed by the Thompson World Series in Connecticut also. Justin Bonsignor was the winner there, leading 77 of 100 laps. Ronnie Silk second, Doug Colby was third, Matt Swanson fourth, Ryan Newman was fifth, Patrick Emmerling sixth. We had Jimmy Blewett seventh, Matt Zeckham eighth, Timmy Solomino ninth, and Donnie Leah rounding out the top 10. Woody Pitkat was on the pole, finished 24th due to an accident. Woody Pitkat was very upset that qualifying was canceled due to weather, and they were going to line up by points in his mind, and that would have put him way in the back. But what he did not realize that they went to practice speeds, which he was the fastest, putting him on the pole. The points right now, Doug Colby is leading the points with a 13-point lead over Justin Bonsignor. Timmy Solomino is 42 back. Donnie Leah is 4th in points, and Eric Goodale is 5th in points. The Camping World Truck Series was also at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. William Byron was a winner from the pole. Christopher Bell 2nd, Matt Crafton 3rd, Tyler Reddick 4th, Timothy Peters was 6th, Cole Custer was 6th, Timothy Peters was 5th. Kaz Graglia was 7th, Brett Moffitt 8th, John Hunter Nemechek 9th, and Johnny Sorter rounding out the top 10. Ben Kennedy, a chaser in the Truck Series, finished 11th, and Daniel Temerick was way in the back, finishing 28th. In the Xfinity Series was at Kentucky. Elliott Sadler was the winner there. Daniel Suarez 2nd. Ryan Blaney was 3rd. Sam Hornish Jr. was 4th. Mac Tift was 5th. Brendan Gaughan was 6th. Ryan Reed 7th. Darrell Wallace Jr. 8th. Justin Allgaier 9th. Brennan Poole rounding out the top 10. In the Sprint Cup Series at New Hampshire, Kevin Harvick was the winner there. Matt Kenseth was 2nd. Kyle Busch 3rd. Brad Keselowski was 4th. We had Kurt Busch 5th. Carl Edwards was 6th. Martin Truex Jr. was 7th. Jimmy Johnson 8th. Casey Kane 9th. Kyle Larson rounding out the top 10. The Sprint Cup Series chasers who were out of the top 10, Joey Logano finished 11th. Chase Elliott 13th. Denny Hamlin 15th. Austin Dillon 16th. Tony Stewart 14th. Jamie McMurray 19th. And Chris Buescher finished a dismal 30th. Remember, 4 teams will be eliminated. They head to Dover next, and that'll be this Sunday, October 2nd. And Truex and Harvick with victories are automatically in. So you win a race, you're in. Otherwise, you got to finish in the top 12. So Dover this week. And Dover, I'll tell you what, I've been to that track on both sides of the fence. I've officiated races there, modifieds, Xfinity. I've been a fan there. I was sitting in the grandstands with the people. An awesome place. An awesome place to watch a race. And I don't think anybody wants to take that ride, but it's not that bad of a ride. Coming home is a little hard, but you know, it's starting to wind down. The races are starting to get interesting. The pressure is on. And like with the Xfinity series, towards the end there was all these restarts, because they were side by side, door handle to door handle, or door sticker to door sticker, and wheel to wheel, because the pressure is on. You have to beat the guy in front of you, because those guys, especially the chasers, they have to be there. They want to be and go to the next level. So anyway, it's all good. That's all good. We got a lot of stuff going on. The seasons are winding down for the top 3, the Sprint Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Camping World Truck Series, as well as the Modifieds, where the Southern Modified Tour has 1 race left, and the Northern Modified Tour has 2 events left in their seasons. And it's hard to believe another racing season almost over. The weekly series, for the most part, is pretty much done with the NASCAR points. But a lot of other tracks and dirt tracks they're going to run into and through October. We'll start having some of the footage of those races, or at least some of the results from those races coming up. But anyway, looks like it's time to almost wrap up. So we got 2. I don't know if it's a peace sign or 2 minutes. So I'm going to go with 2 minutes. So what we're going to do is go with 2 minutes. I had a lot of fun tonight, guys and gals. Racing. 2017 season, now's the time to start preparing for it. Those who run racetracks, promote racetracks, and even those who drive race cars, you're prepared now for next season. And you're lining up your sponsors, getting your schedules together, figuring out what you're going to run, what you're not going to run. And I'll tell you what, I would love to see more vintage racing at some of these racetracks, the old vintage cars. There's a lot of vintage car clubs out there. My good buddy Kevin Basic from Long Island Need for Speed has a vintage modified, an old Troyer car, a Frenchie's modified. Tony Hirschman drove the list of people that drove it is endless. But you watch these guys getting these old vintage cars, and these guys I think they could be competitive today. So, if you have an opportunity, if you're a track promoter and you're watching, no matter what track you're at, get one of these clubs and maybe schedule something, because that's going to put cars in the pits, put fannies in the seats, and you have a whole different group of people with these vintage cars. You have a good show, they're going to come back. And also, I was talking to my good buddy Mike Ravelbuxer today, and he talked about Power Wheels racing, and we're going to be more in detail with that next week. But until then, I want to wish everybody a happy week, good week, and wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this weekend, please be safe, please be careful, give somebody a hug, tell them you love them, God bless you all, and thank you for being here. We'll see you next week.